That's right. It's time.
This is the MyMichelleLive Podcast.
Weekend Review. A look back at the week. It's MyMichelleLive Weekend Review. Here's Michelle.
Big voice guy, don't forget the co-host here. Adam is here to rock our world. We are going to be looking at the news of the week, and it's a sad week for the woke because things are really falling apart. You can only misreport things, spin things so far before they start to choke. It's like being on a swing set. Have you ever, when you were a kid, did that thing where you spun yourself around and you twisted? You can only twist and spin things so far before you just start spinning out of control. And unfortunately, that's what's happening this week. We're going to be reporting on it. The news unspun and commentary that leads you to a better conclusion, a conclusion of hope and the God story. And that's what we're doing today. Adam, how was your week, my friend?
Hey, Michelle, it's been a crazy week this week. And we were, even just today alone has been crazy. Twitter, trending on Twitter today, President Harris, oh God help us. And then after that, I looked at Twitter again after just a page refresh, Klaus Schwab, oh my gosh. And that's just Friday morning. It's been a crazy week. And we've been seeing different stories coming out of the legacy media that I think were I don't want to say the first time, but like more serious than not this week in particular, they've been a lot more critical of President Biden. I know we sensed the honeymoon period ending just a month or a few months ago. It's over now. It's totally over. Now I think I think right now the media and the Democrat establishment are trying to figure out how to undermine Joe Biden enough to have somebody else run for the presidency after the midterms. He's going to be a lame duck president, like literally like after November, it's over. So I think right now we're actually witnessing like this internal sort of like cannibalism from the most extreme far leftists in our society. Michelle, the reason why I think we haven't invoked the 25th Amendment right now is because Kamala Harris is the vice president. We heard from Joe Biden that he has COVID now. Just a few days ago, he was saying how he had cancer.
Yeah,
which,
we'll look at that.
By the way, let's just like point that out. Like President Joe, no, you don't like. You don't have, it was non-melanoma skin cancer. That
well, let's get to that in a minute because I want to play the gaff cam.
We have
Seriously, yeah, we're in
Before I get into that too much though, like we're already seeing, speaking of the regurgitation or the vomiting out of the love for Joe Biden, the approval rating from a New York Times Siena poll, 33% approval rating. Only 13% of Americans from where we are today say that America is headed in the right direction. And literally 64% of Democrats are saying that they would prefer a different nominee in 2024. I know our dollar doesn't go as far as it used to.
Look at the polls, Jack.
Come on, Jack. Our dollar doesn't go as far anymore as it used to, right? Gas is expensive. Food is expensive. Even if we stopped inflation, average household income is already down by like $9,000 over the next year. And it's not getting any better. And it's because we have a leadership that really wasn't hired based on the great concept of merit, right? Like they are not people with any experience in the economy or business. Last week, we were covering the fact that most of the cabinet has zero business experience. And so how are Americans supposed to have faith in basically a leadership team, a zero experience leadership team to turn the ship around? Man, just show us your resumes. Like, I think right now, the only solution is for just clean the house, like fire everybody. Let's do this election thing again. Put people in power that know what the heck they're doing. Put people that are credentialed. Michelle, did you see the gaffe from Dr. Jill this past week?
Yes, I did actually. She's going from tacos to it just doesn't stop in the Biden camp.
It's bad when, because wife and a husband, like they should be like each other's ride or die. Whatever I say, if I make myself look like a fool, like my wife will support me. And then behind the scenes, she'll be like, what the heck are you doing? Dr. Jill is not riding or dying right now for Joe Biden. She's basically pointing him out, suggesting that he's already failed at his job. Like, just quit now. There was this quote where she said, and she was at a fundraiser in fancy Nantucket at a very nice private residence. And she said, the president had so many hopes and plans for things he wanted to do, but every time he turned around, he had to address the problems of the moment. He's just had so many things thrown his way, poor guy. Who would have ever thought about what happened with the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade? She says, maybe we saw it coming, but still, we didn't believe it. The gun violence in this country is absolutely appalling, and we didn't see the war in Ukraine coming. Michelle, We
Awkward.
saw all of that coming from a mile away. Putin gave us months of notice, basically. We watched as troops were surging towards the border between Russia and Ukraine, just building up. And then we saw reports about Russia basically building up their blood supply at the border. Like, why would we need a bunch of extra like blood at the border? Maybe in case we have soldiers who need like blood transfusions. Maybe that's what that's for. A military conflict would typically be present for that. All this stuff came from a mile away. The Supreme Court situation with Roe versus Wade, there was a leak of an opinion. Like that was out for several weeks. So I don't know, just seeing Dr. Jill sit here saying, oh my gosh,
Okay,
we are such
so-
victims of circumstance.
Look, can we just
I think when I think
stop
of presidents who are
for a
victims of
moment?
circumstance, I think of
What the heck?
I think of George W. Bush, who was a victim of circumstance with 9/11, totally
Okay.
taking over his presidency. I think of FDR, like World War II. That was a big deal. I don't think of President Biden. Every single problem that we've had from him has been a self-inflicted, avoidable problem.
All right. And I just want to take a moment and step back for just a second and say, what the heck? It's called being president. You can't stand the heat. Get out of the kitchen. I didn't know. I ran for president to be the president, the leader of the free world. I didn't know there'd be so many hard things. What the heck did you think it would be, Joe? Just saying. The thing that just gets me is this, what did you expect attitude. It's like, what? This is just way too much for me. So let's take a moment and get to what you mentioned before. I have it queued up, and we want to look at the gaff cam of the week because
The gaff cam.
Yeah, the gaff cam. Joe Biden. Big revelation as he's talking about the oil industry, reveals he has cancer because of the oil industry. Listen to this.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
What? All
Easy,
right,
corn
so
pop.
let's.
Easy.
So the president has cancer because of the oil industry. What kind of cancer does he have? He had some issues with melanoma, which is a skin
No,
cancer.
Michelle, it was a skin
non-melanoma cancer.
It wasn't
Forgive
even
me.
that. Melanoma is a big deal. So when I hear somebody like this, a person of influence, throwing the cancer word around, I have a real problem. I have a younger sister who died from melanoma. That's a big deal.
Wow.
And here you have this guy saying, "Oh, I had cancer," and then you realize,
Not
okay,
I
he
had.
non-melanoma
I
skin
have
cancer from
cancer.
sun exposure.
Yeah.
Not the oil industry, but also too, just like dropping that the way he did. If you're a foreign world leader, if you are just an American citizen, and then you hear, "Oh my gosh," like we live in a world where people read headlines and they don't read the body of stories. Like people just like scroll through headlines, and then you see a headline that says Joe Biden says he has cancer, and then you just scroll beyond that. So then you're just left to sit there thinking that the president of the United States has cancer, and then a few days later, oh, he's also got COVID.
Man, he's a walking medical emergency.
But don't worry, Michelle, he is fully vaxxed and twice boosted.
Okay, there you go.
And so is everybody around him. I think Jen Psaki was like a quintuple boosted, but she got COVID like 4 times in 5 months. Rough, man.
It's really tough, and watching it is painful. That we laugh at that because it's silly, but we're talking about the leader of the free world. Yeah, that's why me and so many damn other people have cancer. One, blaming an industry that had nothing to do with your non-melanoma cancer that many older Americans have that spent too much time in the sun.
Michelle,
Come on.
never mind the fact that the oil and petroleum industry is used to produce so many of the medical products that we rely on for everything, like the syringes that actually have medication in it, the bags that hold saline, like just that industry in particular. To demonize an entire industry that frankly our country really needs right now is just so irresponsible. He's like literally trying to put Americans against Americans instead of saying, hey, you know what? There are some problems in the world. Why don't we work together to solve them?
And the oil industry, I'm all for keeping the oil industry accountable for environmentally. And because of that, they have to adhere to pretty tough standards. Don't believe me? Spend some time in, Texas, like you are. There's some places where the oil industry, everybody works for the oil industry. Ask some questions, do some digging, just find out how accountable they are. And then, I don't know, go someplace like Saudi Arabia and just see how environmentally conscious they are. With some of these issues, the New York Times and Washington Post are starting to cover some of these blunders and gaffes.
They are. And finally, they're actually starting to share with us that, and so it's not just the alternative media or the new media, conservative media. The legacy mainstream media is now starting to cover gaffes like this. The gaffes where President Biden is misquoting polls that indicate, that basically he's not wanted for the next term. He's sitting here saying, oh no, I'm 92% of Democrats want me. Look at the polls, Jack. No, he's actually being corrected now. Finally, we've been gaslit by the media for so long now. And we've lost our trust, our faith in publications like the New York Times and the Washington Post for good reason, because we're not stupid. Before we started, I think before we went live, Michelle and I were talking about the election itself. And we were told that we were idiots if we had questions about voter fraud. But we just saw a video of ballots in a trash can. We just saw another video of ballots on fire. We saw another video of just massive ballot drop-offs. Like, we were not allowed to ask honest questions, and that's a huge problem. And also, too, journalists were not allowed to ask honest questions either. They had editors in the newsrooms shutting them down if they had honest questions. And you see the same thing in academia. So to now see this kind of like churning of I don't know if refreshing is the word, but it like gives me a little bit of hope.
Again, you can only twist that swing around so far before things have to start swinging the other direction. And we've seen this with the reporting of vaccinations and COVID information. It was suppressed. It was not allowed to be talked about. In my circle in Seattle, many of my friends rolled their eyes at me and were outright maybe aggressive because I was questioning vaccines. So no, these are safe. And if you don't get vaccinated, you don't care about people because you're going to spread it. Now we know that vaccines are one of the biggest reasons why we have so many variants. They would have gotten there anyway eventually, but it got there fairly quickly. It's not protecting us from getting COVID,
Right.
Nor is it protecting us from hospitalizations. And in fact, there is a lot of information we'll probably get to. Maybe next week we'll do another COVID report of how many people have died because of the vaccine. You're seeing these things and it's not being reported. What's finally breaking through, though, is interesting. So we can move to our next story in the interest of time. We have talked about open borders. If you don't believe that our borders should be open, boy, you don't love America because you're a hater. You're just a hater. I see it in art. I went to see the musical that's touring the nation, Hadestown. Very well done.
Oh, cool.
Great music. But it blames global warming and building walls to keep those poor people out so they can't have all the goodness that we have. No, you're not protecting them because we see what's happening to people who cross the border undocumented. They're being abducted. Slavery is at an all-time high. The great evil that we talk about all the time, I guess it was just evil 200 years ago. It's not evil when it happens today to little kids. And the sex trade industry, which is at an all-time high as well, mainly in America because of open borders. And now DC homeless shelters are filling up with migrants from Arizona and Texas. And finally, we're seeing people say, wait, I don't like what's going on here. What's happening?
Forgive me for failing to have a lot of compassion for DC Mayor Muriel Bowser and for Mayor Adams in New York, because while they might be experiencing a few thousand extra people over in their cities, and that might be a problem for them, down here in Texas and Arizona, we've had over 2 million people come through. You have border towns of 15,000 people that have 55,000 migrants rolling through them. Sorry guys. Like, I fail to really hear your complaints and give a crap about them because frankly, these are issues that we've seen coming. These are issues that you should have seen coming from a mile away, just like Joe Biden and his issues. The border issues are going to bring a lot of other terrible things with them. Apart from the immediate human traffic concerns, Michelle, like all that fentanyl coming across the border, manufactured in China. You might think you live in a safe neighborhood, but your neighborhood is not safe from the terrible spread and creep of drugs spreading through the social circles that our kids play in. We had West Point graduates overdosing from fentanyl on spring break, right? This is a terrible reality that we're going to have to come to terms with. So forgive me for failing to really hear the concerns from mayors like Muriel Bowser and Mayor Adams and really listen to them with a whole lot of authority. Like it's hard to hear them complain about this when so many of these issues are problems that they've created for themselves. That's really the gist of it.
Maybe I could sum it up with these wise words from a book of antiquity called the Bible. Whatsoever thou soweth, so shall thou reapeth. There you go. You reap what you sow, sweetheart. I'm sorry. It's tough, but it has real world consequences. And I wanted to talk about this very heart-wrenching story. Uvalde, that horrible shooting that massacred babies. It's horrific. And we're talking about banning guns and such and stealing guns from law-abiding citizens. Okay, I don't mind having that debate, but let's be honest about everything that went on. Now, there is a report from the Texas House of Representatives that the border crisis contributed to the botched response. How does that happen? This is very disturbing. The school is actually in a smuggling corridor from the U.S.-Mexico border to San Antonio. That district where the Uvalde school massacre took place, that district has been in lockdown 47 times since February due to the border crisis. 47 times,
Absurd.
Nearly 50 times since February due to the border crisis spilling into the streets. 90% or more of the lockdowns that happened were due to law enforcement chasing suspected smuggling vehicles through Uvalde. So they didn't want this chase leading to someone fleeing and going into a school and causing trouble. So this has happened nearly 50 times in just 1 year alone. The decision is, they say, contributed to law enforcement. Nearly 400 cops were gathered there doing nothing, just hanging out and what's going on, not aware of what's going on. This says your policies are not working. And that's why, folks, I am not going to apologize today for owning a gun, having a concealed weapons permit, being trained in how to use it and how to use it accurately. Warning to the guy who was parked out in front of my house this week, stalking me. Yes, it was a real thing. I was stalked this week, Adam.
Crazy.
And
That dude needs to get a life.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. He's someone that I know that's been associated with someone with my family. I won't go into details, but I went to my mailbox and I saw the guy. And he looked at me, he nodded and just stopped and then drove slowly. I went another way back to my home and looked out. There he was. I called the police. 4 hours later, the police show up. I called 3 times to say, this guy is still here. And they showed up as quickly as they could based on the defunding of Seattle Police Department. So for
decisions
hours,
get bad prizes, Michelle. Bad decisions get bad prizes,
Yeah.
and that's just the reality.
But I will warn.
You cannot intimidate people unfairly, and you cannot violate people's privacy.
Thank you very much. And I will warn you, I was armed and prepared to protect myself if needed, to do it within a legal means, to protect life, if at all possible, to result in a peaceful, all right, let's just get this guy arrested, whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
if my life or my family's life was in danger, we're prepared, and we need to be. Unfortunately, we're not looking at that in our society. We're doing things like this, Adam, where at an Orlando amusement park, they were forced to put on pause a gallery game where you ride up in an aerial ride, and throughout the park there are targets, and you can use your laser to shoot at these targets. And the people were outraged. This is totally insensitive based on gun violence. Are you kidding me?
That sounds like fun, man.
Not only does it sound like fun, it sounds like good training for good people like this guy. You heard about the Indiana mall shooting. Oh, wait.
Yes.
I'm sorry. maybe you didn't, because it has been greatly suppressed by the news, where there was a mass shooter at a mall in Greenwood, Indiana, and he was shot dead Sunday by an armed civilian firing into a food court. The armed civilian was like,
22-year-old. A 22-year-old farm boy on a date with his girlfriend in the food court, saw what was going on, and he saved a lot of people by being armed, by being trained, and by being brave. And but thank God for this guy. You can't even guess how many lives he saved, because the shooter was there and he had a lot of ammo on him too. The shooter did not expect to be taken out that quickly, let alone by a would-be victim. As this shooter, this 22-year-old, approached and engaged the gunman, he's sitting here with his gun drawn, and he's trying to motion to all the people around him to go behind him and to escape through the exits. What a hero. And this is a great American story about how, frankly, an armed, law-abiding citizen can protect the lives of others from a would-be terrible tragedy. Thank God for this guy, Elijah Dickin.
You are the hero, and we really want to thank you and recognize that's what it is all about. How many people own guns that are just good law-abiding citizens? If you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. Is that what we want? How many people would have died in this mall if a good guy didn't have a gun? And what could have happened in my situation if the police never showed up and the guy became braver and decided, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take this to the next level. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're being covered by Lester Holt on MSNBC about this like terrible situation that took place. Like all those crime stories are so well documented by the media. Nobody wants to be in one of those.
And Adam, really, the gun-free zones don't work. The highest crime rates are in areas with the highest gun laws, because you really are only restricting the good people. Right. I think that we need to have better training. Ideally, if it's a right, it should be talked about in schools. We should be trained in gun safety and respect for firearms. We really have to understand that you can't unring the bell. Yeah, it'd be great if we could just get rid of all weapons all over the world. But what we can't get rid of is the intent of the human heart, the evil that a fallen man has to live with. So, well,
even look at Japan, right? The assassination of Shinzo Abe. It's a terrible tragedy. A country with the strictest gun laws ever. It's really hard to have a gun there. It's almost like it's a hard thing. A guy managed to manufacture his own gun, and oh, by the way, there's a huge suicide problem in Japan. And guess what? People find ways to inflict damage on themselves and others, whether it's a gun or a knife or what have you. There are mental issues to work through that are underlying issues that you have to address. And right now, our society is ignoring all of that. And that's why we're not going to solve this mass shooting problem anytime soon, because we have this huge mental health issue that's just being totally ignored.
Yeah, and I would say that we market it as a mental health issue, which it is in part, but what it really is, it's called a freaking sin issue. Let's just be out front with it. That's the way it is. And
absolutely.
Instead of making better decisions.
A good family unit and support system can solve a lot of that. It can mitigate damage. It can mitigate violence. It can help with mental health issues.
Instead of teaching real truth and logic, real science, and morality, we have really messed things up. There is now a Health and Human Services study, $40,000 to study kids, why they favor whiteness and maleness.
Let's just point out, that's $40,000 that are taxpayer dollars. So we're just feeding the problem of inflation. We are feeding the problem of misallocation of our country's financial resources to channel money to a private school that actually one of my sisters went to this particular private school.
What?
New York University. She went there before law school.
Okay.
And my sister is now a practicing attorney. NYU is a very wealthy school. They don't need $40,000 at NYU. Tuition at NYU is extremely expensive. So now we're funding our government, our tax dollars at work is going towards a Health and Human Services racial equity venture. That's, Michelle, here's what they're studying. They're calling it, the question that they're trying to solve or research, why kids favor whiteness and maleness over other identities.
Wow.
What are we going to get from that kind of study?
We're going to get continued wokeism. We're going to get a continued fear that there's racism and white privilege under every rock. Look, I am not denying that there are areas where people have preferences of whiteness. There's also places where we've seen in the news this week where there's preferences of blackness, where there has been violence against people who are white.
The word whiteness, though. So there are like these DEI corporate training groups that are trying to basically make the word whiteness not refer to skin color, but they're saying whiteness equals racist. Like that, they're trying to basically redefine what words mean. And they're trying to say that if you are basically someone who expresses whiteness, you are somebody who's expressing racism. Like, why not just call racism, call a white dude, call a black dude? Like, we're
how
getting
about we
so
just
far
call
away from
people
truth to
and
do
get
what?
past it, because there's so many hues of human skin. It becomes ridiculous. We have different cultures. Those can be celebrated. That can be appreciated. And your culture may be different than mine, but you're human. And that's what it comes down to.
Well,
but
if you're Gwen Stefani and you're a white person, you cannot celebrate other cultures without appropriating. Like, that's absurd. It's absurd that like people from one culture can't celebrate the customs or the food or the music or the art.
Unless you're Joy Behar, unless you're Joy Behar, and someone like Joy Behar that dresses up as a beautiful black woman, that's not cultural appropriation. That's just appreciating the culture. If you're woke, you can break their own rules. There is inconsistency. Once again, Michelle says, check your freaking worldview for hypocrisy. Let's go to this story.
This is the Title IX story here, Michelle.
Yeah. Let's bring it up.
So Title IX is a pretty important thing, I would say. The Biden administration is basically trying to degrade and redefine what sex means, right? Like, I'm a man, Michelle is a woman. You don't have to ask us for our pronouns. We're just going to, you can just like talk to us. That's what it is. They're trying to redefine Title IX, and they're going to basically break down the protections that women and girls are given as it applies to sports, bathrooms. They're trying to deprive women of privacy and safety by basically redefining this. Can you imagine being the father of a daughter, and your daughter, just say, is in 9th grade, and one of the boys decides to identify as a girl, and then there's a locker room situation after volleyball practice or something, and then you have a naked 9th grade boy walking around the girls' locker room? The changes to Title IX are going to allow that to be a thing. And that's assuming you have any girls on the team, because if you have a bunch of boys who identify as girls, they're going to be smoking the competition. Like the whole Leah Thomas situation played out again, just across all of the sports. Yeah. Did you know that 94% of senior female executives today were competitive athletes when they were in school?
Wow. That's
94% of senior executives in business that are female played competitive sports.
Because when you go through that kind of level of competition, that kind of focus, it really enhances your ability to break through those supposed glass ceilings that are out there. Adam, what else?
If you allow males to compete now, you get rid of their opportunities to get scholarships to go to school, maybe scholarships that they really need to go to school, opportunities on the playing field in the first place, like you were getting to. Right now, we are in the comment period. There's a 60-day comment period where you can go and tell the Biden administration what you think about their proposed changes to Title IX. You have till the middle of September to do it.
But do it now.
The administration has to review all of your comments and everything that you say about these changes. Get it on public record. Like, you have to let your voice be heard so that they don't redefine and frankly get rid of the protections that are in place for our girls and women. Like, we have to protect them.
I'm talking to you now. As you're listening, we're going to put this up everywhere you're listening to this program or watching this show. This is important. You want to know what my comments are going to be. If you get rid of Title IX, why is it that I have to address someone by their preferred pronouns, but they are allowed to call me a cis woman? I'm just a woman. That's what I identify as. How come you get to do that? Why is it okay? It's wrong for Gwen Stefani or anyone else to celebrate someone else's culture, but you can gender appropriate what a woman is, and you as a man, Adam, could just decide, oh yeah, I'm a woman today. Why is that not gender appropriation?
Michelle,
how
my
are
brother
these okay?
pointed something out. Gender dysphoria is a DSM-5 mental illness, right? My brother basically said, can you imagine if people were forced to talk to people with hallucinations and schizophrenia and have to act like the hallucinations were real?
Very good point. And that's what we're doing in our world. The Biden transgender health official that we all know and facepalm at wants to empower children to go on puberty blockers. So it's not just about the gender dysphoria, it's about the next generation, and it is outright child abuse. The experimentation that went on in Nazi camps and in Japanese camps of Area 370, 371, where they did abominable things to babies, to children, infecting them with diseases, and cutting them open and examining their bodies to see how these diseases had effects on them while they were alive, because they thought there's a difference between what happens when you're dead and when you're alive. And then they would just discard them. That kind of horrible thing is on kin to what we're doing to children. And we're the Biden administration and this crazy mixed up fool that you're seeing on your screen, they're really at the forefront of it. Thank you very much, Mr. Levine.
Yeah, the woman who fathered 2 children we're supposed to believe is the same kind of woman as Michelle or my wife. No, there's a difference. It's a trans woman, and that's what that is. A trans woman is somebody with gender dysphoria. A woman is a adult female human being. It was really crazy to see these remarks that Rachel Levine delivered to MSNBC, trying to really just reaffirm or
so
just
we
to
really
reiterate
want to debase
trans-affirming care.
Let's take a listen.
Do we have him here? Let's take a listen.
So we really want to debase our treatment and to affirm
treatment,
to support and empower these youth, not to limit their participation in activities and sports, and even limit their ability to get gender affirmation treatment in their state. So we really want.
This is not an issue of treatment. This is an issue of child abuse. And when you look at people that have actually gone down this route, when you listen to the stories of people like Scott Nugent, from the founder of Trade Voices, Scott Nugent was born as a woman and went through this transition process as a 42-year-old. And Scott Nugent's arm is now deformed from what the doctors did to make a fake penis. This person has to go through several medications a day just to not have, I guess, the immune system attack itself. This is somebody that suffers on a daily basis from the decision to go through this, quote, gender affirming healthcare. It's weird to hear these doctors doctors, right? Quote, doctors refer to this as treatment, to hear them refer to this as a solution.
How much money do they make?
Because the reality is they are hurting people and they're misleading people. And by the way, Big Pharma stands to make over $1.3 million per transition patient. If that doesn't sound like incentive for them to push this program forward, dollars and cents, man. You saw what they did with COVID, and they're doing it with this now. Yeah. And it's wrong.
Then let's move over to our friend Miss Jen Psaki.
Oh, Raggedy Ann.
Literally had a breakdown in tears over state laws that ban children from undergoing sex changes.
The political games and harsh and cruel attempts at laws that we're seeing in some states like Florida, that is not a reflection of the country moving to oppose LGBTQ plus communities. That is not what we see in data. That is not fact, and that is not where things stand. This is a political wedge issue and an attempt to win a culture war. And they're doing that in a way that is harsh and cruel to a community of kids, especially. I'm going to get emotional about this issue because it's horrible.
It's so horrible. Yeah, it really is. Pot talking about the kettle. Thank you very much.
The problem, Michelle, is they're not talking about, okay, so they're saying that this is something that's going to solve a mental health problem.
And
but
yet
in fact, it exacerbates the problem. She's pointing to data, right? There is no data that supports that these sex change surgeries help the mental illness. There's none. In fact, like, these people suffer more after the surgeries. We have to have compassion for people with mental disorders, and we have to offer them solutions that help them work through that. But this is not a solution. This creates more problems for these people and suicide rate. And that's what they keep pointing to, by the way. They say your words are violence and you are transphobic if you're speaking out against this. It's quite the opposite. In fact, we're trying to look out for the health and well-being of these people by making sure that they don't spark a process of irreversible damage.
Indeed. This is where we're not paying attention to the statistics. We're moved by these fake emotions. And maybe she's sincere, I don't know, but it's idiocy and money. And we're not looking at the fact that the statistics don't change. In fact, they escalate, as you mentioned. And parents are now not part of this conversation as kids come out at school, where in schools we're not taught reading and writing anymore. Even people who are on the left are saying that schools are no longer bastions of education. They are places of indoctrination on every level. That kids are being taught gender is fluid and you may not be the sex that you are. They're being taught this as fact. And we know that this has an effect. We know that teaching Darwinian evolution, which has now been greatly disproven in every area of scientific academia. Who doesn't know that? Oh, our schools. And what's the effect? The effect has been you're no different than killing a person is really no different than chopping down a tree. It's survival of the fittest. How is that working out for you there, America? And when we look at what's happening in our schools now, gender issues, gender transitions at schools, they're not often allowed to tell parents. Parents are not part of this because, well, the parents may not agree or the parents may make it difficult for the children. So your kids are no longer your kids anymore.
It's more than they're not they're like incentivized to not tell parents about this stuff. They're incentivized to keep it a secret from parents. Like, here, let me offer you access to puberty blockers and to counseling that will help bring you towards this decision, and let's make sure your parents don't know anything about this. That's not shady, but that's what's actually happening at schools in Michigan. It's happening. Michelle, it's even happening in Texas. Like, it's happening everywhere. And if parents aren't keeping their eyes and ears open and listening to what their kids are saying, looking at the curriculum that your teachers are shoving down their throats and being present for parent-teacher meetings, it'd be very easy to have this take place and not to know about it. And oh, by the way, in Canada, a father was thrown in jail for trying to stop this from happening to his daughter. His underage daughter was basically pushed down the road of, Michelle, did we cover this in the past week? I think we might have. But he literally was thrown in jail for trying to protect his daughter from going down the path of sex change, of hormone treatments, puberty blockers, all of that. And the public school did everything they could to help give access to that kid to do it. And the government literally stood back and got between the parent and child.
Yeah, this is where we're at today. So can I just encourage you, if you're really concerned about your kids, freaking homeschool. If I've been able to do it, anyone can do it. Just saying. And then we see how this plays out in ridiculous ways, like this headline where a transgender woman impregnated two inmates.
So we talked about this one a little bit, Michelle. And okay, all right. So my wife is all about murder mysteries and stuff. And she was fascinated by the fact that Jodi Arias, remember that murderer? That she was able to have a Twitter account and to sell her crappy artwork through Twitter. And so I came across this Twitter account that literally is the account of the transgender woman in New Jersey who impregnated the other two female prisoners, which, oh, that's strange. The woman impregnated the two women. That's interesting. I was blown away. I was like, how does this person have a Twitter account? Is there like a friend who runs this thing? I found it and I was just like, okay, so your real name is Demetrius. I'm pretty sure that's not a lady's name, but I couldn't believe what I saw. This person just got removed from the women's facility, like rightfully so. Maybe 2 pregnancies too late.
And is looking on Twitter for support because it's so lonely being the only woman in a men's prison or only man. And it is not, let's just get down to the brass tacks of it in our last few kind of last segments of our program today. It's not working. And one way that we know it's not working, Starbucks. Now, Starbucks has been one of those woke companies, but now Starbucks CEO is blaming woke leaders for closing stores in places like my town of Seattle, in Portland. What has Starbucks have been involved in. If you've gone to Starbucks in many of the areas all over, they have had an open bathroom policy. Anyone
right.
can come in. We're inclusive. Everyone's welcome. There are signs up that say this is a safe place for anyone, including people of LGBT community, anyone who needs just a warm place to sit, because we're woke and we care.
Right.
And then they
And
realize
if you're homeless and you're covered in your own urine,
it doesn't matter. Come on in. So now they realize that it is causing so many problems that they're having to close what they say are profitable stores because of the debauchery in the bathrooms, violence in the stores, people saying, I don't want to do business here anymore because of someone who has just defecated all over themselves. So
that literally
it's
happens.
not
Seattle, Los
working.
Angeles, Philadelphia, Portland, DC. Michelle, I put this in the same bucket as Mayor Muriel Bowser and Mayor Adams. Sorry for not feeling sorry for you, man. This is what you get. You're closing 16 profitable stores because you are now suffering from woke decisions that you made, not in the interest of your company, but just in the interest of a progressive agenda that's not good for America.
And so we're sorry, but you know who it is working for. We want to give you some good news. It's working for, people like Nancy Pelosi. What the actual heck here? Her husband bought millions in computer chip stocks before a big subsidy vote. And if you remember her being asked about, what about should there be trading allowed with people in Congress? And she said, oh, yes. Should that be set down? No. Next question. And then there's this. This is hilarious. We'll see if we can find this.
Is this the genius that is Chappelle here, Michelle?
Yeah, it's really funny. We'll get to it.
Obviously, the Howard Schultz thing, the woke leader thing, they're trying to devise a system that's not good for everybody, but it's only good for the elites. Our country is about majority rule, minority rights. They want they want majority rule, and they want less rights for the minority. That's really it. They're not trying to protect the little guy or the middle guy. And that's why Pelosi is sitting here trading something between $1 to $5 million worth of NVIDIA stock with the knowledge that typically will be found on the guilty side of an insider trading lawsuit. Just ask Martha Stewart about that.
We're going to watch. This is hilarious. Now, if you're watching live, you won't be able to hear it very well. Go back to My Michelle Live. You can listen to it. We'll boost it up post-production.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he's received from you?
What are you saying?
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay.
Okay.
So the question is, has your husband ever benefited basically or made a sale based on insider trading? And it's no, and I'm getting the heck out of here. So absolutely hilarious. But in this case, he makes how much? He made how much money? Seriously, look, millions upon millions.
I mean, Pelosi's net worth is something. I think she's worth well over $67 million or so. She's very wealthy,
and
it's hilarious to see this side by side with Chappelle, especially in the same week, by the way, Michelle, that Chappelle was canceled from a comedy venue in Minnesota for ridiculous reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to cancel you, Dave. Man, I would love to have you on the show.
Yeah, come on, Dave. Come on, Dave. You're welcome here. Look, I wanted to get into this story. It is just ridiculous, and this leads us into the wokeness. AOC fakes being handcuffed after being arrested at abortion rights protest. So she was handcuffed and making a big deal of it in front of the Supreme Court while the SCOTUS is away for the summer. Nobody's there. This story, along with a couple others, I wanted to bring into focus. The House of Representatives passed a bill protecting abortion access. And on top of this, Kamala Harris is getting right in there in the fight. And she has been doing this. She has been likening having a baby to slavery. Forcing a woman to carry a child is like slavery. It's like enslaving that woman. And I'm saying this, is that really true? Because every argument that you make to kill children in the womb has a parallel to the arguments that have been made to keep slavery. As slavery perpetuated throughout the world, there were good people, particularly Christian people, who stood up and said, no, this isn't right. These are human beings just like us. And they fought tooth and nail against the establishment, against the known science, against economic arguments. And they made many arguments that sound fairly familiar. And we're going to go through them real quickly so that you can put them in perspective as you grapple with the civil rights issue of our era. My body, my choice, my plantation, my property, my choice, my slave, my choice. It's science. They're not the same. Look at them. They're different. They're not human like we are. Comics, if we don't own them or if we don't kill them, their life, their quality of life is not going to be good. If we let them off the plantation, what's their life going to be like, really? They won't have hope. They won't have means. Their life won't be good enough. So why not just own them as slaves? If we don't kill them, what's going to happen to them? Life is just hard. The idea of compassion, it's simply protecting them, right? And what about privacy? That was an argument. It's my choice, not yours. You don't like slavery, don't have slaves. You don't like abortion, don't have one. None of your business. It's my business. And then the argument of inevitability. Slavery has always been around. And I'll tell you, slavery has always been around. And guess what, friends? It's more prevalent today than it ever has been in human history. Don't believe it, research it yourself. Slavery has always been around. So why don't we just make it safe and legal, right? Same with abortion. It's always been around. Let's just make it safe and legal. You know what? This is the civil rights issue of our time. And there's good news, Adam. People on the side of life and on the right side of life are doing something about it. There's stories like a Christian organization ready to reimburse any employees to $5,000 for adoption. People who have been supplanted because of their ideology, talking like we're talking now, like a flight attendant, I believe it was Southwest Airlines.
That's right.
Yeah, she was critical of the union because they put so much money out. They even paid for employees that wanted to go to a pro-choice rally in DC. She stood up against it and she was fired. She won $50 million in her
Good
lawsuit.
for her.
Good
She's gonna
for
have
her.
a great life. It's like, not money doesn't make you happy, but it can buy a lot of things that'll make you happy. No, that boat will be fun.
Yeah.
That beach house will be pretty cool.
You know, yes.
Man,
and
she's
she
got a
made a
platform
point.
now too, Michelle. She has a platform to use to spread greatness. So if she chooses, she could really do a lot of good for the world.
There we are. That's the news of the day. That's all we have time for, really. But some good stuff to think about as the woke world starts to unravel. The swing has gone so far in one direction. Where do they have to go but the revelation of truth, the revelation of justice, the revelation of what works and what doesn't work? And all it really takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing. So I'm asking you to do something. Like this show, share this show, and subscribe wherever you're listening. Not just to propel our program, but to propel programs like this and places where truth is being talked about, where something other than the allowed narrative is being shared. This is our only hope for the future. Words are powerful. And so we ask you to be part of the solution. Adam?
Be
Take
a
us
part of
home.
the solution. And Michelle, you were just dropping some great points there specific to abortion. And then also just mentioning the whole slavery thing, man. Slavery exists in a terrible way in our country. We're not past slavery. There are estimates between 15 to 50,000 women per year are forced into sex slavery in the United States. And that's crazy. We're sitting here in a day and age where we see degradation to women and girls' rights, an attack on Title IX right now, an attack on our ability to choose what we want to put in our bodies when it comes to this vaccine. It's scary times that we live in, but we do have a role to play. We have to, like Michelle said, comment, share, like, subscribe, bring friends to the show, and fact check us too. Like, we would like to think we're like sharper than not, but we might miss a few things here and there. But thank you guys for listening. And it's an honor to do what we do, just trying to speak the good word.
Thanks again. And we'll catch you next week. Bye, guys.
For more fun, go to MyMichelleLive.com.